everyone who's tuned in from the United States, and good afternoon to anyone who's in Europe. I'm just going to cover 3 time zones right now, guys, for the time. I hope everyone's doing well. Firstly, we just want to, on behalf of all 4 of us here, we just want to make sure that you guys are safe and your families are doing okay, and everyone's being socially responsible and staying home like all of us are. And you can very well see from our backgrounds that we are actually home, and we're all working from home to make sure that we're all collectively able to help you with your study abroad goals and ensure that you're able to do what you set out to do. So with that, just gonna jump into introducing myself. My name is Vibha Kaksi, and I am the founder and Chief Education Officer at reachiv.com. And as you know, at ReachIV, we help you reach your study abroad and career goals. And today we're very excited to have with us my colleague Archana, who's an alumnus of the Darden School. And of course, Archana, thank you for being here. Archana is currently based in Boston, and she's been kind enough to join this. I just had to bring it up with her. I just broached the subject once, and she was all in for Darden. She's had a fabulous experience at Darden, and she's going to be sharing some snippets of her time there as well. And I have 2 colleagues from the Darden School of Business. And I'm just going to hand it over to Whitney to first please introduce herself.
Yes, greetings everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for this Facebook Live session. Thank you to my friends at ReachIV for coordinating and inviting us to join. My name is Whitney Kessner, and I am Director of Admissions at the Darden School of Business at the University of Virginia. This fall, I will celebrate my 13th anniversary on the admissions team, and it is always a pleasure to get to engage with prospective students, our current students, and then with alumni. And so delighted that Archana could be here with us today and share her experience. So with that, I'll turn it over to one of my newest colleagues, Hemant.
Thank you, Whitney. So I'm Hemant Das. I joined recently, and I lead initiatives for the Darden School of Business in India and the region. Really excited to be part of the webinar today. Looking forward to kind of hearing your questions and how you're thinking about things, how you're feeling about it, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all your questions today. Thank you.
Hey everyone, this is Archana Rao. As Vibha mentioned, I'm Darden class of 2015, and prior to Darden, I'm trained as an engineer, but soon jumped into the finance industry and taught for a couple of years with Teach for India. Post Darden, I worked with the Boston Consulting Group and the Baton Ernst & Young Group in education consulting. But right now I'm in the industry with Cengage Learning, which is an education technology company that's helping all of us figure out how do we move online in the current time and hopefully, in the future as well. As you can see, education is a very big passion of mine, which is why I'm really trying to help out with in any way that I can to help students figure out what they want to do for the studies, and also mentoring and counseling them with Vibha and ReachIV.
Okay, thank you so much for introducing yourselves, guys. And I love that we're all sitting in 4 different locations around the globe. So just to get a sense of, just overall, Whitney, if you could just share what's going on, we hear all this news about America, and we're all reading the New York Times, and sometimes we are panicked and sometimes we are amazed. Give us the on-ground news. What is going on, and what's going on specifically in Virginia as compared to the rest of the country?
Yeah, great question. It definitely feels like a roller coaster, and I can empathize with all of those feelings and can imagine everyone in this Facebook Live group can as well. So we are, in terms of where we are in our academic cycle, so we are nearing the end of the school year of the 4th quarter, and so the 4th quarter at Darden went virtual. So our students have been participating in synchronous classes throughout the last several weeks, and the feedback on the whole has been really positive. I think that the students have loved how the faculty have pretty seamlessly transitioned to virtual learning and have really enjoyed getting to connect and continue to learn, through this spring. Things are going well here in the state of Virginia, compared to some of the other hotspots around the country. The number of COVID cases is relatively low. What we're hearing from the University of Virginia and other local health systems is that we feel prepared in terms of the equipment and the support that we need. And we have a stay-at-home mandate from the governor of Virginia through June 10th. So we all are working remotely and, going to school remotely. I've got 2 middle school age children here who are currently in class. And so if for any reason my internet goes a little wonky, it may be because they're in the online session as well.
Okay, so there is a lockdown till June 10th in Virginia.
Correct.
Okay, great. Okay, and Archana, over to you. Would you like to ask?
Yeah. Whitney, thanks for sharing that. I was just reminiscing my second year at Darden, which is for sure a time when everyone wants to get together. You all have jobs in hand, you're partying, you're having a good time. I wanted to get a sense from you about what is the sentiment of the student community currently like, right? Both first years, second years, who are looking towards internships versus who are looking to graduate full time.
Yeah, great question. I think there's probably a wide range of feelings for our second years. There's definitely been a sense of loss in that the things that they had looked to for their to experience in their final quarter are different than what they expected. Our graduation ceremony will not be held in person. We're looking at alternate dates. That said, many of the traditions that do take place at this time of year are continuing. We held a special first coffee celebration last Wednesday when we announced the graduation speakers and honored many members of the faculty and staff and student body for their leadership and their contributions. So that was just a wonderful reminder that people are still doing great things and they're connecting. They're just connecting in a different way. Certainly there's concern on the career side, just a lot of questions, and again, sort of this constant state of ambiguity related to this evolving situation. So our first years, I think, have really enjoyed taking electives. They finished the core curriculum in early March, and then when they returned for Q4, they began electives and been hearing wonderful feedback with those courses. The internship and the full-time hiring situation seems to be holding its own. There certainly have been a few offers rescinded, but for the most part, our career team feels, very hopeful and feel like things are continuing to move in a positive direction. Our Career Center always takes the approach of working with each student as an individual. And so they are working with them, to address any concerns they may have. Companies, and Archana, you might, be seeing this yourself, are being flexible and creative in terms of how they are handling the situation and how they're adapting for internship and also full-time hires.
I agree. It definitely varies by industry, right? Just to speak for myself, I work in the online education technology space. So we're seeing a lot of activity in this space because we need all the helping hands as we can. They have, touch wood, haven't been many layoffs in my industry so far. But to your point, you're right, it really varies. But overall, I think it really depends on how the company is taking it and, figuring out creative ways, like you said.
Yeah,
that's helpful.
If I could, Vipya, one more, sorry. Just in terms of, I touched on kind of the academic and the career, but the social piece, I have so loved seeing how the students are continuing to engage virtually. They're being so creative in terms of, online cooking gatherings, definitely staying active in their section competitions through the Darden Cup. So just wanted to make sure people knew they're still having fun.
I completely agree. We were supposed to have our 5-year reunion this year at Foxfield this week, actually. But, we ended up doing Zoom sessions. And, of course, it's been postponed to October. But I hear you. People are trying to find ways to still be social, right?
Yeah.
Okay, for anyone who's just tuned in, someone's asking, Vijay, Hiran Mai is asking, what are we doing here today? So, okay, we have the Darden School of Business. We have representatives from there. We have Whitney and we have Hemant. So this is specifically an MBA-focused seminar. I have a question here from Vijay Nichani. This is regarding Hemant and Whitney. This is regarding round 3. So
yes.
Maybe we could just elaborate a little bit about round 3 and any sort of exceptions you're making for round 3 in terms of GMAT waivers, etc. And then for round 1 as well, what are your thoughts on, people who are not going to be able to take the test for whatever reason? How is the school sort of thinking about that?
Yeah, great question. I'll start, and Hemant, please feel free to jump in. So with round 3, what we did is we moved that to rolling admissions. The original application deadline was April 6th. We've now pushed that to July 15th. And we are still accepting applications through that time, and we are evaluating them on a rolling basis. We are not currently offering any test waivers. What we have done is we have expanded the standardized tests that we will accept. So we've always accepted the GMAT and the GRE. We've actually accepted the MCAT and the LSAT for years. We've expanded it to accept your college entrance exams. And so in the US, that's the SAT and the ACT. But for India and other regions, we will accept your college entrance exam. And that's where Hemant will be tapped to help us, to better understand, that. With all of our application review process now, in the past, and in the future, we always take a holistic approach. So we're looking at everything. Yes, your academic profile from your undergrad, any master's work, any non-degree coursework that you've done, your professional career, your community involvement. So it is all important.
Okay. So just to recap what you said it's now moved to rolling.
Correct.
Up to July 15th.
Correct.
In addition to a variety of tests, you're also going to be looking at SATs, ACTs, or the Indian equivalent of your college entrance test.
Correct.
And anything on the round 1 piece, would you like to add anything on round 1? Any extensions on the deadline? Are you thinking on anything along those lines?
Yeah, so as we continue to evaluate candidates in this current admissions cycle, we have teams within the admissions group that is working on preparing for next year's application cycle. So we have not finalized our application deadline. We do anticipate having early action again, as well as round 1, 2, and 3. In terms of the standardized test requirements and things like that, we will be announcing at the beginning of June.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Hemant, over to you, please.
Yeah, so kind of just adding on to what Whitney kind of mentioned, she's covered everything. I think particularly from an Indian context, if, for example, you're not able to kind of do a GMAT or a GRE right now. I mean, a GMAT has started an online version of their test right now. So you could kind of do that. But in case you are not able to do that, like Whitney mentioned, your kind of engineering or your kind of entrance exam scores can also be looked at as a holistic package in terms of your, your kind of candidature for entry into the program. So don't worry too much about it. Kind of put everything together and share it with the admissions team, and we can help you with that.
This is quite fabulous actually, because it gives an opportunity to a lot of students who, for reasons other than COVID-19, have not taken the GMAT yet, or is sort of sitting on the fence about taking the GMAT. It sort of opens up a great opportunity. So it's a great initiative by the school to do this. Archana, over to you.
Yeah, and just to that point, Whitney, how has the number of international applicants been affected in the last rounds of the deadlines? Are you seeing any changes across applications based on the trends from the past?
No major trends sort of coming. I will say that Darden is seeing an increase in our round 3 applications compared with last year. I will note a caveat there that round 3 has always been our smallest round. So it's from a smaller base, and then certainly opening up and extending the July 15th new deadline allows for more applications to come in. But we're actually seeing about half of the round 3 applications are from candidates from outside of the U.S., which is on par for what we generally see. I think if anything, we're just hearing a lot, more questions and just sort of more, just around sort of what things are going to look like and what the options are. And our team has one-on-one conversations that always encourage prospective students to sign up for one of those, and so they can speak a little bit more specifically to their unique situation and hopefully we can address their specific questions.
So you're suggesting for anyone who's been admitted, it's a good idea to just reach out to you and schedule a one-on-one chat with you?
So we have both. So for prospective students, we have a schedule a conversation option on our website. And then for admitted students, yes, we very much welcome conversations as well. And we do have that scheduling feature available, so if they'd like to speak with a member of the admissions committee.
Okay. So I have a question here in the chat from Vikyat Nanda. I think this is a student, I believe you've met before with me. So he's asking about round 3 versus early action for next year. Do you see any difference between applying round 3 this year versus EA next year? And considering the time span will be short in between, that's not really going to help him boost his profile in that sense. So he's asking just, is there a preference between the two?
Yeah, I think it's always going to be what makes the most sense for you. We have extended round 3 and expanded the standardized test options to in response to the current situation and wanting to be as flexible as we can be. And so if this is the right time for you and you're very much interested in beginning to start in August, then yes, by all means, if you feel you're ready to move forward with your application. If you're not quite ready, early action will be here before we know it. We're looking to open up the application for next year's cycle in early June. I anticipate an early September deadline for early action. But obviously that would be to begin your studies in August of 2021. Mm-hmm. We, in terms of when to apply, I do think it's going to be when you feel like you can put your best application forward and present your strongest candidacy. If you were to apply in round 3 and were not successful in the admissions process or decided not to matriculate and look to reapply, we always look favorably upon reapplicants, and hopefully, you would have, going through this process, you probably learn a lot about yourself and how best to present yourself through this. And so probably take away some great learnings if you were to reapply.
Okay, thank you. Archana, can you see the chat box as well?
I can. You asked the question.
Karthikeya's question, please.
I think another question that we've seen is in terms of trends in the market, especially, this is by Kartikeya Kumar. Is there a preference by corporate recruiters for folks with a dual degree, MBA/MS, as opposed to just MBA? And I think part of this question might also allude to, I'm not sure if this is what Kartikeya meant. I remember speaking with a couple of students from Early Action last year for the Darden event, that students can now take an MS program as well that qualifies them for a 3-year STEM OPT versus 1 year. So I'm not sure if corporates look at this more favorably versus not. So I suppose this is part of the question would be regarding the visa situation as well.
Yeah, and actually an update since then. So the Darden MBA is actually STEM certified. So if you earn the management science specialization through your Darden coursework, you do get that STEM certification for the 3-year OPT extension. But we do have, over 10 dual degrees, but one of the more recent ones is the MBA MSDS, which is a master's in data science, which is a phenomenal degree. It's certainly going to be a much deeper dive into analytics, into data science, more exposure to working with programming languages. Arcana, you probably can speak to the MBA in its basic construct is very much around breadth, giving you exposure to all the different aspects of business. Through the electives, you get to specialize or drill down deeper, but it's 2 years and you're covering a lot. So particularly with the MBA MSDS, you get to go have that T-shape. You get the breadth of the MBA, but you do get that depth in data science. And so depending on what you're looking to do professionally, that's a pretty phenomenal skill set combination there.
Got it. So it sounds like even corporates view that as a pretty specific skill set and is highly valuable, right? If you're able to dig into certain topics and certain course areas and gain mastery and expertise over that, it's viewed favorably in the job market as well. I certainly know this for sure. And Hemant, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so I just wanted to quickly add on to what you and Whitney just said. So having a data science kind of skill set is extremely critical because, like you would have seen in online programs as well, there's such a big kind of demand for specific courses around decision making, around analytics, around machine learning, around AI, around analytics in terms of predictive and descriptive analytics. So it's a critical skill to have. And every single company, regardless of the kind of function they have or the kind of area that they kind of work in, it'll be critical because, as you kind of lead kind of teams, lead organizations, you need to kind of make sense of a lot of data points. And that's not going to change. That will only become bigger and bigger, right? So how do you navigate around data and how do you kind of use data science to kind of take decisions will be a critical skill, critical knowledge, critical kind of competency to have. And this program allows you to kind of get very deep into it, not just from a perspective of how data science will be used by leaders, but also the programming part of it. So that when you are kind of working in that area, you know how to kind of make sense of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Just want to confirm that you said that the 2-year MBA program at Darden is STEM certified. And
correct.
As long as you take the what is the concentration called, please?
It's management science specialization. So it's a little bit more credit bearing than a concentration, but it's broad enough that the majority of our students are able to earn that management science specialization. And so makes it very doable in terms of getting your MBA, getting that specialization, and therefore being eligible for STEM extension.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. Wanted to take the question we received about people who've been admitted this year.
Yeah.
And given the visa situation, considering, most of the embassies and consulates worldwide are shut, if they're unable to procure a visa, or if, just campuses can't open up by September or October, what's it looking like for, people who have been admitted and who are really keen on going ahead with their journeys? What's the first semester going to look like?
Yes, great questions, and have some information, but obviously an evolving situation, and we're learning more day by day. I'll break that apart a little bit. So first, if we do have any members of the Darden class of 2022 on this chat, great to see you, and we are so excited for the start of the year. Our dean, Scott Beardsley, came out with an announcement last Thursday through a video update sharing more. We do plan to begin in August. Our hope is that we begin in person, but we may be virtual. That decision will ultimately be made by the University of Virginia by mid-June. And so we will await that. Dean Beardsley also announced that we will offer a limited number of spots for a January 2021 start for students that need more time. And we do anticipate this may be international students who are awaiting their visa paperwork. And so we are hosting a webinar tomorrow with Dean Beardsley, Donna Clark, who heads up admissions, also the head of our Career Development Center, Jeff McNish, and other colleagues to talk through these updates and provide more information. So for any class of 2022 folks out there, please be sure to sign up for that webinar. And then we also will be, as we've already touched upon, hosting one-on-one appointments, because we know that your individual situation and what you're thinking through, you likely have questions, and so we want to be available to you to talk through that, to talk through those options.
Okay, so just to recap, you're hopeful that things will go fine, and
Yep.
September, October should look okay. But in the off chance that it isn't, then there might be a few seats for a January intake.
Correct.
Okay, fine.
And then we will be open to deferral requests, and we'll take those on a case-by-case basis. So if you'd like to defer your admission to August of 2021.
Okay, so there is some consideration for that as well. Okay.
Yes.
Any talk of any sort of fee reduction going on in terms of like just for the first semester if it were to move online?
So no, not at this time. We anticipate tuition and fees will remain the same. Those are approved by the University of Virginia, and so we will, similar to the start of school, we will follow the university's lead.
Okay, great, because you fall under the jurisdiction of the University of Virginia. Okay, great.
Exactly.
Yeah, just a question around in the event the classes move online. I remember one of the most enduring experiences for me at Darden was, just the collaborative nature of classes, the classroom experience, and learning team, of course. What are some ways in which that we're thinking about the design changes to incorporate those elements within the classrooms, right? I suppose that'll be a core experience as well. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, great question, and things that we are thinking about and working on at this very moment. I'm a little bit more removed being part of the admissions team, but can definitely say that my colleagues in the academic team and faculty and staff are working very hard on that. So a couple data points, though, that I could certainly share. We've gone virtual for Q4, and as mentioned, on the whole, the feedback has been positive. We've learned a lot. The faculty will have a meeting in mid-May to really dig in and sort of do the post-mortem, if you will, what worked, what didn't, sharing best practices. There has been faculty support throughout this quarter and really helping them sort of iterate, think creatively to offer a high engagement learning. That, as you know, is core to who we are. Learning from each other, these relationships, the discussion-based learning. And so we have found that moving that to Zoom has gone pretty well. And the faculty have been creative and committed to figuring out ways to do what they do, but do it in this different way. And I feel so good about that. So we're learning a lot right now. At the same time, over the course of April, the admissions team, as well as our student admissions committee, we hosted a lot of virtual interaction of events, from mock cases to panel discussions to online cooking sessions with current students. So we've been engaging virtually with our class of 2022 now for the last 5 weeks, and they have been getting to know each other. One of the things that we always lament about is that, in admissions, we get to meet all these great students, but it's not until they start school that they meet each other. Well, it turns out they've been meeting each other now, 5 months earlier, through a lot of these virtual engagements. So I think we're going to look to build on that momentum and help to foster these relationships that have been formed and continue to form, so that when the students do begin, whether it is in person or virtual, I think that sense of community is there.
Yeah, I'm just going to second what Whitney said in terms of Darden's sense of community. I had the honor of visiting Darden actually last summer.
This time, yeah.
This time last year. And I was really overwhelmed, just by your warmth and the way you guys had set up all the events, the scheduling, the way you took us around campus, and every member from your admissions team, whether it was like a student or Donna herself, you guys were just completely on it. And that truly reflected, the warmth and that sense of community. If we sensed it in a day and a half, just going through a year and a half or 2 years on your campus with you must surely be an overwhelming experience. So I'm with you on that one, Whitney. I'll take a question here from Vivek Vashish, who is asking, as companies are going to move digital after this lockdown, because we're going to see a lot of businesses transacting online. Do you guys think there will be a dip in the demand for traditional MBA graduates? Let's just take that piece of the question.
Again, so from my purview in admissions, I want to, be upfront that I do not see myself as an expert in this area, but certainly speaking with Jeff McNish and our Career Center and other colleagues, I'd say the short answer is no. If anything, it is an ever-changing world with a lot of complex problems and challenges and opportunities. And so Darden graduates, our Kenna is one of them, is fully adept at these important critical thinking skills, communication, teamwork, leadership, visionary. And so I think all of these things that you will gain through the Darden MBA experience, these skills that you will further hone, are going to be even more important. And, the feedback that we're getting from recruiters is that they very much see, MBA graduates as incredible talent that they look to meet and get to know with the hopes of having them join their organizations. And so they are being, as I stated earlier, creative and thoughtful about the internship and recruiting processes, and will continue to maintain these relationships because it is important, and because the MBA skill set and the students that graduate from Darden are just incredible people and have just tremendous skill sets.
Archana, do you want to add anything here? Like, what's your take on this?
Absolutely. So I was definitely going to second what Whitney said. Having had a very quantitative heavy training in engineering and a pretty focused understanding of the finance sector before business school, I think what classes at Darden and just even learning from my peers, more importantly, that's what an MBA really provides, gave me a very holistic understanding of business, right? The business world, and holistic degree in really learning about other aspects of business beyond just finance. So take strategy, entrepreneurship, marketing, sales. There's so many things that one doesn't get a deeper understanding of unless you dwell in these subjects. But more importantly, like I said, learn from your classmates who've been working in these industries. So post MBA, I mean, really served me well in the consulting space, and also now in at my current job at Cengage Learning, where I have to lead a team of 500 people, where I need to understand every aspect of the business, not just finance, right? I need to understand our strategic vision, our sales and marketing tactics. I need to understand how product and technology function. And I think that's really what a holistic degree like an MBA provides. So in my opinion, even when I'm hiring someone, I look for people who have that holistic understanding and training in business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So I think, Vivek, lockdown or no lockdown, not to say that we're not going to need engineers. Of course, we need engineers. Of course, we need programmers. But then to sort of run the show and make sure everything goes smoothly, you of course need managers, and the MBA is essentially going to equip you to become a successful manager. So I hope that answers your question. I'm going to take Akash Gotmare's question, who asks, what do you guys think about admissions trends for round 1 in 2020 compared to round 1 in 2019? And is there anything changing between last year and this year?
The world changed. No, I mean, I think, we're currently working to update the application, think through, what we are asking of students as they apply. We're always looking through the admissions process. We are always looking for to provide this as an opportunity, a platform for you to share who you are, what is important to you, and what you want to do. So I think from an admissions, what we're asking for and the general process, I think will really remain the same. In terms of trends, what we may be seeing in terms of application volume and things like that, it feels too early to tell. There's a whole lot of speculation out there. I think that it will all continue to unfold. It's always a competitive process. And we meet candidates that have done some really tremendous things. And so I think it will, my hope is that continues, that we meet great candidates who find a strong fit with Darden and see themselves being wonderful contributors to this community and want this experience, and vice versa.
I'm just going to add here, Whitney, that I went to business school from 2008 to 2010, and this is during the financial crises, right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, I feel like if the world is shutting down, if the world is going through economic issues, it is the ideal time to go get your degree, because you're definitely not getting any promotions. You're not getting shifted to like the London or the New York office of your company. You're probably not getting a pay raise. Businesses are going to downsize. So in all likelihood, companies are going to let go of people, and hopefully it's not you. So given, a dismal economic situation, it's an ideal time to get out. And we're all hoping that at least in a year or two, by the time you graduate, the economy picks up. And then, we all know the benefit of graduating in a flourishing economy, because you see those job offers rolling in. So for anyone who's on the fence about whether they should be applying this year or not, my personal advice to you is go for it. You don't want to be stuck in a sluggish economic cycle and you don't want to also leave when the economy is thriving. When you leave to go to business school, there's a huge opportunity cost of leaving then. But now, like, the opportunity cost is so minuscule that if I were you, I would definitely be looking at going. Okay, I'm going to take a question from Subhansh Dikshit, who says, hey, I want to know what do you look for? What do you consider the most? So what are some of the top things that you look for in candidates when you're selecting people to be admitted to Darden?
Great question. And not something I can boil it down to one or two things. You know, it very much is you'll hear this a lot if you haven't already, but we do take a holistic approach. What that means is every piece of the application is important. I think what really sort of my takeaway after doing this for many years is the more that you see and use this as an opportunity to take stock of what you've done and what skills you have, what you enjoy doing, and why you want this degree, that's really going to come through in your application as you present yourself and share with the admissions committee through your application that you submit and through your interview. So I think it's a really a strong sense of awareness, self-awareness, an understanding of why you want this experience. That really can come through in your short answer questions, you know, through as your recommendation writers share with us, you know, from their perspective. I think that that's so valuable. And then once you get into a program, that's really going to just ramp up and amplify. And, you know, to Vibya's point, you know, this is about creating options. This is about enhancing your skill set, you know, professionally, but also a personal transformation that is going to position you for great things going forward. And so I think that the more that you get a sense of why you want this, it's going to make it that much more meaningful for you, you know, as a student and beyond.
Okay, Suryansh, I hope Whitney was able to answer your question. Archana, would you like to ask either a question from the chat or anything else on your mind?
So I think I don't see any new questions on the chat though, but one question I did have, Whitney, we touched on this a little while ago about the job market. So you mentioned that students who are first-year students who are going into their internships and second-year students who are going into their full-time roles, what are some things that you've been hearing, and how do you think the situation would affect currently, right now, students within the job market, right, who are looking to start? I mean, when I think about myself, like I mentioned, there have been some situations and cases where you know, companies have hired, put a freeze on hiring, right? But I think in the general sense, there have been a lot of positive, like we discussed, situations where MBAs are looked at very favorably for the hiring market. But just if you could elaborate a little bit on what the job situation looks like for first years and second years currently, if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from my colleagues, you know, there have been some internship and full-time positions rescinded, and those have largely been in industries related, and not surprisingly, to hospitality and to transportation related. But those numbers have really been small, and I think they feel sort of that cautious optimism. You know, again, this is an evolving situation and we're learning more day by day. The ripple effects of this pandemic are just mind-boggling, but really feel good about sort of where the current students are in their search. They always take, our Career Center is very dedicated to taking a personal, very individual focused approach. And so they have a team of senior directors that have industry experience who work with our students on their specific path and plan. And if that plan has right now been upended. They've been working so hard to help them figure out other options. So we're hearing some really neat things. We've got a corporate advisory board that Jeff McNish is in very close contact with, and that's been a really great information sharing and support. Interestingly, as Vibya reminded me of her timeline, her graduation, members of the class of 2009 and 10 alumni hosted a panel discussion recently to talk to our current students to say, hey, we went through this and this is our experience, what we learned from it. I love that. And I think that really speaks to the community we've touched on, but then this broad global network of which you are a part, the outpouring from our alumni in terms of how can they help, how can they support the school and the students has just been wonderful.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. And part of why I asked that question is to bring to fore exactly this point, right? I'm seeing a lot of support from Darden alumni, both in India and abroad, towards the first year and second year students who are, looking for different opportunities and really trying to get their foot in the door. And even the career services at Darden personally helped me tremendously in identifying what was it that I wanted to do post an MBA, and B, to be able to actually go and achieve that, right? So I'm sure the career services are continuing to do that fabulous job. And to anyone who's having second thoughts about, like Vibha said, the MBA, but also post-career opportunities, I can vouch for the fact that Darden does a fantastic job in really helping you achieve that.
And thanks, guys. And just in line with what Archana and Whitney are both saying, we have a question from Hiran saying, does the situation increase opportunities for entrepreneurship? I'll give my take on this is exactly what Whitney was saying. Like when you go to school during a down market, there are a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurship that do open up because the services are cheap. You can hire people for cheaper. You can get interns at practically no cost. Your marketing costs on Google, Facebook, Instagram, etc., drastically go down because a lot of companies cut their budgets for marketing. And as we all know, for any business to run, marketing is a huge component of your costs. So dabbling with entrepreneurship in a down market is a great idea. And we saw a lot of my colleagues, and in fact, I was product of this market as well, where I started strategizing my business idea while I was at school. So it's a great way to go get that MBA, get the credentialing, get the learning, get the knowledge base from what the MBA has to offer. And parallelly, you can explore your business idea such that when you emerge, 2 years out of school, you will have the MBA and you will have your idea conceptualized. And if the idea flourishes into a big business, then, that's fabulous. If not, you've got the MBA, and, when the market recovers, you will land that dream job. So Whitney and Hemant, and if anyone wants to add on the whole entrepreneurship angle, please go for it. Sure, go for it, Hemant.
So I think Vibha also mentioned, the last financial crisis, 2008, 2009. If you think about new frameworks, new models that came around that time, Uber, Airbnb, WhatsApp, this kind of environment, and just adding on to what Vibha said, kind of creates that platforms, creates that entrepreneurship opportunities, right? So it's a great time because, everyone is looking at new models, new platforms, new disruptions to kind of take to market. And because of the market is like that, it's throwing up a lot of opportunities in terms of models that we need, frameworks that we need, tools that we need, products that we need. And it's a great opportunity to kind of become part of that and lead that.
Sure.
Yeah, things that we didn't know we needed.
Yeah.
Uber, who knew?
Just to add on the entrepreneurship thing, Darden has the Baton entrepreneurship cell, which always, is so supportive for students who are looking to go down the entrepreneurship route. If you have an idea, if you have a business pitch, if you have your elevator pitch, Baton's going to help you really shape that up and, take it to market.
Just one more additional point on that. So the Baton Institute, yes, a tremendous team that really is all about fostering that ecosystem in Charlottesville, but beyond. And we have a colleague, Robin Swift, who's director of West Coast Initiatives out in the Bay Area. And I was speaking with her yesterday, and she has been so delighted to see that our students are connecting with alumni and other people. It just seems like there's more of an openness to getting conversations and exploring potential opportunities than maybe in the past. And so maybe an early stage company that really wasn't thinking about hiring or having an MBA intern, but maybe has had to cut some expenses. So having an MBA for the summer to really think about some big strategic challenges is huge. And what a phenomenal opportunity for an MBA student. So we do have a Baton Venture internship program that is a summer internship opportunity for students to work with early stage companies. And so that's been something that, especially more recently, has picked up a lot of momentum because it's a great, it's a win-win for the students looking for really neat experiences and companies that need help.
Okay, terrific. I know we requested you for a 30-minute webinar and we've run grossly over time, and thank you for your patience. We're going to now end this webinar. And guys, I know you guys still have some questions, but as Whitney had said, a lot of clarity will come through by early to mid-June. And we'd love to host Darden again around that time, perhaps.
I'd love it.
Anyone who's looking at applying in round 1 next year, mid-June will still be a good time for you to get an update from Darden and take your decisions. And for anyone who's listening, who's been admitted this year and you're contemplating what to do with your admit, please do reach out to the Darden admissions team. And they've been very generous to set up one-on-one conversations with you. And as Whitney had mentioned, on a case-by-case basis, they're going to discuss with you what the best course of action may be for you. So guys, I'm going to let you go. I know you all have a long day ahead of you, especially the ones in Boston and at UVA. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight talking to you, and the conversation has definitely been enlightening for me on a personal level as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vivya. It's always a pleasure getting to spend time with you, and thank you to your team.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.